Hey guys, it's Lee Taylor. That's the brand new Yaris Cross, and this is a Right Lane Review. Toyota's success largely stems from their ability to create a practical and reliable car for the masses. With the popularity of the tiny SUV segment, Toyota has yet another market slot to fill. So in the light SUV segment, as we know, there's plenty of options, and most of the manufacturers are sticking to their guns. The Ford Puma is quite loud on its feet, the Mazda is quite dynamic and efficient, and for Toyota, they're sticking to something that's practical, user-friendly, and hybrid. But with a name like Yaris Cross, you expect it to be a little bit cross. When I say cross, I expect this car to have a little bit more of a rough and tumble sort of presence, but it really doesn't. It's definitely made for an urban environment. And this car we have this week is a GX model, which is the base model for the Yaris Cross. And the only option that's been put on for us is the hybrid system, and in this variation, the two-wheel drive hybrid system. There's also a all-wheel drive hybrid system, which gives you electric rear axle. Might give you a little bit more capability if you're out and about, but really the two-wheel drive hybrid is probably the sweet spot. So overall, the car's general driving characteristic, it's just kind of a chill car. I mean, it's nothing overly engaging. It doesn't really shout in your face about anything. It's very Toyota. It's very much A to B sort of machine. And in this hybrid variation, it gets you A to B in either a parallel version where the electric motor and the engine's working together, or in an all-electric mode, which allows you to move around without any petrol at all. And quite frankly, it's very seamless and very intuitive. Now you do have three different modes. You have a normal mode, which it kind of leaves it to its own devices, an eco mode where it preserves as much petrol as possible, and a power mode, which is kind of, I guess, like a sport mode, where it uses the electric motor and the engine together to produce a bit more of a responsive drivetrain. And when the electric motor and the petrol motor are working together, it is quite responsive. It's not fast. I mean, it only makes about 84 kilowatts and somewhere around 150 newton meters of torque at peak. But overall, it's not a bad place to be. It's just not engaging. When we talk about dynamics, it's not one of the points where this car actually shines. It is very much just a Yaris on stilts. And it's not really designed to be anything overly sporty. I mean, it feels fine in the hands, it's light, it's nimble, it parks fine. That's not something I would actually call engaging. And that's kind of the point. This car really isn't designed to be a sporty machine. It's not really designed to be anything crazy. It's just designed to be a practical day-to-day. And if you look at it through that lens, it works pretty well. So as far as standard tech is concerned on this base model, you actually get quite a bit of safety tech, for example. So you have AEB for pedestrians, cars, and cyclists, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control with a stop and go function, which is pretty good. And you can actually option up in the higher trims, blind spot monitors and things like that. Park tech, don't really need it in a car like this. You can see I have it pretty well and it's easy to park. You do get a rear camera and sensors. Beyond that, pretty basic, and for an A to B, not bad. So how's the interior on the Yaris Cross? Well, it's actually not terribly bad. Everything's functional, some great cubbies. The design I actually don't mind. What it lets me down though is materials. Everything's just a bit scratchy, and the door handles are hard to find, stuff like that. But the steering wheel is actually nice in hand. It's a good size and a good feel. All your buttons are where they're supposed to be. A general infotainment unit, even though it's skewed away, it still has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, a nice digital dash layout. But beyond that, the only thing I really don't care for is the digital dash kind of gives me a bit of a moment. So how's life in the back seat of the Yaris Cross? Well, it's fairly basic. I mean, knee room's a bit lacking, but everything else is all right. I have plenty of room otherwise. Materials are about the same as the front. You do have some ISOFIX points if you want to carry some kids around, which are probably better suited for the back seats than adults. And if you are thirsty, there is an armrest, but it is built into the back seat. So how's the boot in the back of the Yaris? Well, I think it's actually one of its most endearing qualities. You see, there's plenty of space back here, and the loaded floor actually has two settings, a higher setting with the panels and a lower setting so you can get a little bit bigger items in. And there's tons of space in here, even with the battery pack in place. Not to mention, you even have a space saver spare tire. So what's the tops, bottoms, and final verdict on the brand new Yaris Cross? Well, on the bottom are a few things that are really just personal preference. One is the fact that this isn't the most engaging car to drive, and particularly when you have competitors like the Puma and the CX-3, it's something to keep in mind. The interior materials are not my favorite, they're just a bit lackluster. And the hybrid model like we have here today tends to push the price a little bit higher than some of its competitors as well. So what's on top for the Yaris? Well, if you're just after a city runabout, it's not a bad deal. There's some really cool little practicality bits in the back. It's easy to park and maneuver around town, and the hybrid system is quite intuitive. It means that you can actually move around the city without using too much petrol. Plus, it's a pretty good size. So what's the final verdict on the 2021 Yaris Cross? Well, it's not my cup of tea just because I like a car that's a little bit more engaging, but if you're after something that's really practical, easy to live with, and sips petrol, you should probably check it out. Well, there's actually quite a bit to like if you're just looking for